He's a high schooler now. He's not a little kid anymore.
I think he would have a great regular season record, but his bowl record wasn't good.
Yeah. You ready?
I've heard him all.
Brenda?
Yep.
Call the meeting to order at Montcalm County Board of Commissioners, regular meeting for May 12th. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice Chairman Peterson.
Today we have Pastor Dennis Ross from Nevins Lake Church to lead us in prayer, please.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all that we have. We thank you for your goodness to us as a county and for the good financial shape we're in. Continue to pray for our Board of Commissioners for this meeting, for the other meetings they have, for the judgments and the things that they decide upon that would be for the best interest of this county, that you would help them to do that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Alexander,
Here.
Johnston,
Here.
Peterson,
Yes, ma'am.
Painter,
Here.
Mahar,
Here.
Carr,
Yes.
and Murray.
Here. Everyone's here. Everyone have a copy of the meeting minutes of the last meeting, April 28th. I skipped by the agenda approval, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
We can do them backwards or we can back up and I'll do it right. I don't have anything to change on the agenda. Does anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I'd move to approve our agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now the meeting minutes, April 28th, 2025. Any changes?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I would move to approve our minutes from our April 28th regular board meeting as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the board minutes of the last regular board meeting, April 28th, as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments? Yes, sir.
The statement 2 weeks ago by Lieutenant, I agree 100%. Sheriff, a month ago, I agree 100%. The beard and goatee, remember I worked in corrections, so I've been in law enforcement. So I checked it out. The sheriff's right. Bingo. I checked out the vest, under the shirt, over the shirt. He was right. Bingo. I checked out, is it necessary to have legal secretaries in the prosecutor's office? I can't get it. The answer came back. They are essential to the efficient operation of a law firm. Bingo. Prosecutor's right. I want to talk about culture. Let's talk about the guy that shot out the house on Johnson Road and the cars, and then started a fire on Vining Road. And the officer did a good job. They caught him. Then you got that guy with his wife busted down the door by Six Lakes and got into it with the knees, stuck a handgun in her face. And then you got this guy going over 35 miles an hour. Now, he hit 3 cars. Went under the canopy of the ice cream shop and hit this 12-year-old girl, killing her. We got a problem. I'm not trying to, you're not trying to solve it. I'm just saying this is what we got. And, I forget. I got it all figured out and then I get up here. I just think that we need to focus on, instead of taking $465,000 and $829 and 28 cents from the marijuana and putting it toward this autopsy thing, we need to do something that'll stop crime to help the senior citizens. I talked to a lady in Edmore. She said to me, I talked to her about all this crime. She goes, well, I wish they solved that crime down there in that double homicide. I said, do you know those people? She said, no. I said, well, that one lady, I've known her for 30 years. She's only about this high. And So here's his concern. What the citizens of Montcalm County want is justice. We want the chairman of the board to stand up and the board members to say, the perpetrators that killed those two, we're going to find you. And we're going to arrest you. And we're going to charge you to the full extent of the law. And you can't do that when you don't give a legal secretary to the prosecutor. Berry County has 2 legal secretaries. Branch County has 2 legal secretaries. Ione County has 3. There's some like Macosta, they only have the prosecutor. I don't know if they got any legal secretaries. They might. But it's just something we need to focus on, making the community safe and staffing the operations that need to be staffed. That is the main purpose of this board. Not to tell the sheriff how to do his job or the treasurer to do their job. If you look at an organization chart, you'll see here's the board of commissioners. There's no line going down to anybody except the controller. They don't have the sheriff. He's got a line to the jail administrator and the undersheriff and all these people. None of those lines from the county board of commissioners goes to any elected official. Is that it?
Yeah, it's close.
That's okay. That's enough.
All right, thank you.
I've been, you know what?
Yeah.
I read the verse of the Bible said, forgive them. Father, forgive them for no, that's not what it is.
Got an
The
expert.
Lord's Prayer says, forgive those who trespass against you as you forgive yourself, or so that God can forgive you. So I've been praying a little bit. God help them. They're just,
Good.
we all say things we shouldn't say. We don't really know, but we need to work with the sheriff and work with the prosecutor and get this thing straightened out. Because the senior citizens, I got charged by a dog. I got a pit bull still guard on me. I had a black pepper spray just this week. And I'm going through that. I wrote a statement to the sheriff. Not they're going to do anything because they had to have video evidence. So I think that's a lot of crime to solve with this drug and stuff. They catch these people on the road because they stole a vehicle and they see the license plate on a camera and they go after them. So,
All right,
you do that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? If not, we're a few minutes early. Tammy, do you have anyone else you're waiting for? Okay, we have Tammy Warner with us from the Montcalm Care Network. A couple of things. Sure. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for your time. I'll start with May is Mental Health Month. So thank you to the county for letting us put signs up. If you didn't hear about our Walk Against Stigma event on Saturday, it went really well. We were able to go walk up and down M66 out front of Montcalm Care down to the American Legion to advocate for breaking the stigma against mental health. So hopefully you heard about that. It was a great event. So I'm here today again with a couple of issues that seem to be reoccurring for us. The first one, I don't know if you have a preference on which one I start with, but I provided 2 infographics for you to kind of summarize the issues, and I left copies on the table at the back for anyone else. So the first one that we're dealing with, I guess I'll start with the protecting people over profits. So once again, it's a privatization attempt in Michigan. We are a public mental health system. I'd like to remind you all that we are a county-based mental health system. We were spun off as a standalone authority to shield the county from risk back in 1998. But we are tied to the county. You appoint our board of directors, and we are here to make sure people in Montcalm County get the services they need. We serve our most seriously ill and persistently ill, those with disabilities, autism disorders, as well as co-occurring substance use. So we take care of the most seriously ill in our community, primarily funded by Medicaid. Once again, there is efforts underway to change the public mental health system. So basically, we are part of a larger region, the Mid-State Health Network. The department has put out that they are looking to take the PIHPs and put them out for competitive bid, which means private entities could bid to oversee the regions, which means we could become privatized, which means then potentially a company or a health plan in Chicago or California could be running or dictating what services are for people here in Montcalm County. We continue to advocate for the benefits of a public mental health system. There's no profit in our system. Any Medicaid funds that are unused go back to the state each year. So during the pandemic, everybody got on Medicaid. We served everybody that needed to, and any funds that we didn't spend went back to the state and federal governments. Unlike the Medicaid health plans on the private, on the physical health side, every dollar that they didn't spend on services during the pandemic went into their pockets. And we all paid for that, those Medicaid dollars. So I continue to advocate for the benefits of our public mental health system and keeping that public and not allowing the state to privatize that. Previous attempts have been through the legislature, through law, trying to change that. Now the administration is trying to do it. So we're just looking for your support in making sure that our public mental health system stays public and stays county and stays local. Because we're here if you have a complaint. I'm just down the street and you can come let me know. But I don't know that that would be the case if private entities took it over. So that's part one. I don't know if there's any questions about that. If not, I'll roll into the next one.
I've got one at
Sure.
least. So do you think these resolutions do any good? And the
Across
bigger- I guess the-
Michigan, we're trying to get, the more we submit and say our county is concerned about it, to making sure. And one of the things we keep trying to do with the state of Michigan too is to remind them this is a county-based system. I think that they forget that they're partners with you all and us to provide these services. And the fact they didn't come ask you, how do you feel about privatizing the system? They're just going to take this away from you, take that control away from you. So we just, across Michigan, we're trying to get all the counties to sign on. We think that way it's a strong stance of saying all the counties in Michigan oppose this.
So would it be fair to guess that this is maybe like the fifth time that we've addressed this since you've been?
There's been 2 prior pretty serious attempts where they were trying to get it into, they last multiple years when they introduce it and before we can actually squash it. This is it came out in February. It's likely because there's some lawsuits against the state of Michigan for the PIHPs. So it feels a little bit like it's retribution for those PIHPs that are disputing contract requirements from the department. So it seems to look like, well, fine. If you want to argue with us, we'll just go ahead and put you out for bid. And we just don't see that that's in our best interest.
Do you
locally.
have any data that supports or knows the answer to, in the past when we've done this, how many other counties jumped on board and did the same thing that we've been asked to do?
I don't, but I'm assuming it's 100%, but I could find out. I've never heard of counties that opposed it because you lose local control if it happens.
I don't know that we oppose it. I just don't know that it's in our wheelhouse to act on it. And we're usually a little careful about wading into someone else's jurisdiction and telling them how to run their.
This is your jurisdiction too.
No, I know,
Your
but trying
county.
to send a resolution to the Senate or the House and telling them how to do their job hasn't really been very effective. And I wonder at some point if crying wolf, what happens when that's really, I mean, I think it's more than 2 times that we've addressed this. I think it's about 5 times.
So previously it was with legislation and through boilerplate that Senator Shirkey tried to get it put in. This time it's through Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So this is an administration. The governor hasn't weighed in on this. I've spoken with the Outmans. They're both supportive of our local services and keeping it local. So it's just a different strategy to trying to accomplish the same thing of privatizing the system. It's a lot. It's $3.6 billion in Michigan. That's a lot of money. And I don't think the health plans are ever going to give up on that.
Sure.
So it's probably going to be a reoccurring thing until the end of time because they want that money. That's profits to be drawn off that money.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
So the second one then goes into the drivers of budget shortfalls. So kind of simultaneously having issues with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. They are currently and are again withholding funding from the community mental health system, the public system. So the money is there. We're not asking for additional funds. The money has been appropriated through the budget by the administrative and the legislature. The funding is there. They're just not pushing it out. So this is the we're going into the 3rd fiscal year that we're running deficits. This is why we have the PHP. So Mid-State Health Network holds those risk reserves that the state allows them to hold. It's only 7.5% of our annual revenues. We can't add to that every year. It's 7.5%. So that's the pot of money that we've had. We continue across the region and across the state, Michigan. They're running deficits. The funding is there. Last year, it was about, I wanted to say it was 137 million last year that they didn't distribute, even though we had deficits. This year, it's going to be closer to 210 million that they're sitting on that they won't push out. For us locally, we're running deficits. This year, we worked really hard on cost containments. We didn't increase rates to our providers. We're watching all of our spending. We're holding costs neutral, but our funding is actually going down this year. They're giving us less funding than they have before. We know needs at the local level continue to increase. People are needing access to mental health services, and we want to provide that, but they're just not pushing the money out. So looking for support that why, if the money is there, why won't they provide that money? It's supposed to be based on actuarially sound rates, but yet the money is there and they won't provide it, even though we're all in deficits. Again, it feels like it's a piece of some of the legal battle that's going on between the PIHPs and the state over the risk reserves. And it feels like they're just trying to drain the risk reserves. But after this fiscal year, Mid-State may not have sufficient funds into next year. And if we go into deficits locally, it could, after we hit the risk corridor, it could come back on the county. We don't want that to happen either because the money's there and the state's just not pushing it out. So again, looking for support just to say, why are you not funding the mental health system with the money that you've got? And why are they withholding it?
Okay. Anyone have any questions on that?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Vice Chairman.
Tammy, when you say it could come back on the county, you mean you would come back to the county and ask for money?
There's a risk corridor. So once, if the region ran out of money and we were still operating in deficits, there's a risk corridor to where then we would expend whatever local fund balance we have, which is very difficult for us to replenish because we're not allowed to keep anything. And then if it's a sufficient enough or significant enough deficits, then in time, it could come back onto the county. There's a risk corridor that the state has to hit, and then it hits the county.
So essentially what you're saying is you could go into debt, or Montcalm Care Network could go into debt, not be able to repay that, and then we would have to repay that?
That is the ultimate concern. Yeah, that it
But that's
could
what
come
you're-
back on the
that's what
county
you're
because we are
talking about.
tied to the county. There is
Right.
still a small risk. It's not for the full risk because that's why we spun off as an authority, but they don't let the counties off completely off the hook. That's what we learned when they ran another region, the Lakeshore region, into deficits, that they were able to then come back onto the counties.
So talking with you before the meeting, you don't take private pay or a lot of insurances for mild to moderate mental health. Don't you think that would be some sort of revenue generation?
So as a public mental health agency, it costs us a lot more to provide an outpatient service than it does a small provider that hangs a shingle, right? So
But
then
couldn't you pass that cost on to?
insurance wouldn't be sufficient to cover our service. We're not tasked to serve that mild to moderate population, which would tend to be our outpatient services. So yes, we could market our outpatient services, but it would likely come at a loss to the agency because the insurance companies won't pay enough to reimburse us because the state says we have to be accredited. We have to do Medicaid audits, all of the burden that they put on the mental health system because we are Medicaid funded would weigh us too heavy to be an outpatient provider. So we're not tasked with mild to moderate services. We're here to provide for the most seriously mentally ill, those with disabilities and autism services. So private insurance individuals tend not to need our service. If they need our services, then they tend to be on Medicaid, and that's what covers the cost. They wouldn't be outpatient services. It would be more intensive case
So-
management.
So I guess when this board voted to earmark $1.5 million to help Montcalm Care Network procure a building, I guess I was under the impression that it was going to be helping with mental health countywide. This is just a very specific group. We're not helping everybody. This isn't a complete help to everybody. This is just one facet of people.
There's a second piece to that. So as we stand today as a community mental health agency, no, we can't serve anybody. The piece is that certified community behavioral health clinic is the piece. If we can become CCBHC certified, which now with Medicaid cuts potentially looming at the federal level, we don't know if that will survive. If we were able to, and we've applied to, but we haven't heard anything back from the state to complete that process to become, we signed on to do it this year, but we haven't heard back. I think because of the uncertainty at the Medicaid or at the federal level. If we became a certified behavioral health clinic, we can serve anyone and everyone within and outside our community. So anybody that assimilates would say Greenbell could come in for services. Then they provide a Medicaid supplemental rate to allow us to provide that mild to moderate. We don't currently get that additional rate to be able to serve everyone, anyone. That's under that CCBHC. That's where we would have expanded services to serve more people.
Okay.
But that's on hold.
All right.
It seems they haven't reached back to us to talk about getting certified for this fall.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Is the state giving any reasoning on why they're continuing down this path?
Of the funding,
Sorry,
All
of the
of it?
funding, correct. Why they
No.
haven't gone back to the other levels?
no, they continue to say, well, they're supposed to look at the rates this month. Fingers crossed, they will fix the rates. The last time that they told us they were going to adjust the rates, it didn't help. So no, they're very uncooperative. It's kind of the first time in my 30 years of being in community mental health that I've experienced the department being so not in a partnership with us. And I would say it's under Director Elizabeth Hertel's oversight of the department that this is occurring. Because
Okay.
before, we've always had good relationships with the department. It's always been a partnership. They want to do something, we talk about it, figure it out. I mean, that's part of what the PIHPs are suing the state is they continue just to say, you're going to do this. We said, but that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Why are we doing that? And they're like, we don't care. We're just going to do it. And so it's just been a very odd relationship because it should be a state and county partnership that we work to provide these services. And it's just not a partnership right now. It's very unusual.
How long has that person you just spoke of been in that position?
She came in during the pandemic.
Okay.
And has been in since. And now is when we're really struggling under her leadership for sure. So we appreciate the support. I think if they see all counties signing on, it just kind of adds to across Michigan. We're saying these are problems and we're just trying to do what we can to be heard because they're not listening to us alone.
Anyone else? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, they got two of them on here together. Should we do them separate or should we do them together?
Chris
Clerk
says
says
I'd say
separate.
Okay, first I'd move to approve the resolution urging action to address the public mental health funding shortfall.
Resolution number.
202503.
Yeah. 2025-03.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I'll move to approve resolution 202504 in opposition to competitive procurement process for prepaid inpatient health plans.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
I think that, Chairman, I think that your point is well made. I mean, sometimes it does feel like these resolutions just are meaningless, but at the end of the day, I don't know if we'll ever know the impact on them or if any. But we know that if we do nothing, they'll have no impact. And so if we do believe this is the right course or the right thing, I guess it doesn't hurt other than spend a few minutes doing it. But I understand your perspective.
Mr. Chair, I actually spoke with Representative Altman about this, about resolutions in general, because I always thought that they weren't worth the paper they were written on because it's not a law. But he actually advised me that they like to see the resolutions because it shows a unified stand by a body of, whether it's, a board of commissioners or what be it. But I think they do actually have more impact than what we probably think that they do for our lawmakers.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Up next, our 425, we have Autumn Mumford, the Animal Control Director, and Christy Hesbrook, the MDOC. No, I don't know what Christy's title is.
I'm a program coordinator for the Department of Corrections at
Okay.
Central Michigan.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I have some informational stuff. I didn't know if you wanted me to pass it out while we talk, to pass around and look at, but it's
Sure.
okay.
You can start it with Nate and we'll pass it down.
Okay. All right, so we're looking to partner with the Central Michigan Correctional Facility. They currently have a program called Positive Futures, placing shelter dogs with some of their inmates there for the purpose of training, handling, and just getting them ready for their forever homes. I did bring Christy with me, who oversees the program, to kind of speak with you all about it and kind of give you some more in-depth information about it. So I figured I'd let her speak and then answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay.
Autumn kind of hit on pretty much everything that we do there. Yeah, we were originally partnered with Dallas to the Rescue. We ended that partnership. Actually, Dallas ended that partnership back in February. But we very much enjoyed that program at our facility. It's very much missed by our prisoner handlers, program staff, facility staff, and just regular inmates at the facility as well. We always get the where are the dogs when we're getting the dogs. We reached out to Montcalm County to see if they might be interested in partnering with us. And we met with Autumn and at the shelter, looked over some things and agreed that we will be a really good fit to work together. So we're really hoping to have you guys consider that for us. And definitely open to any questions. I also have some other information as well, if you guys would like to see it, that we have put together as far as social media things that had come when we were partnered with Dallas to the Rescue. It showed how positive it was of an impact on the public, as well as how important it is to the MDOC too. This is a calendar they put together of all the different facilities and the different prison programs that are offered. There are several prison programs throughout the state, from shelter dog programs, rescue programs, all the way up into Leader Dogs for the Blind, Paws with a Cause. I think the one is called Stiggy's Dogs, where they do, Blue Star Service Dogs, where they do dogs for veterans. They take a shelter dog and turn it into a dog for a veteran for PTSD.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Christy, I guess I have a lot of questions. I'll try to compress them. How many dogs per month, per year? How many do you think will be from our shelter helping with this program?
So what we're looking at is, on average, we take in dogs, they stay for roughly 8 weeks for a training period there, depending on the needs of the dog. Once that dog has graduated the program, they come back to the shelter, and then it'll be up to the shelter to adopt them out. But we can take upwards of 10 dogs at a time. And with our previous program, within from 2022 to February, we had adopted out 110 dogs.
Okay.
Wow. We had a very good success rate.
So would you say that this is not only beneficial to the dogs, but the inmates as well?
It's hugely beneficial. I actually have a couple impact statements from a couple handlers that mentioned that if anybody wanted to hear how it impacted them, they sent a couple letters along, as well as a photograph of one of the prisoners with one of the dogs that he helped to train. And so I have a couple letters if you guys are interested in that at all. But no, it's huge. As soon as one of the dogs comes into the facility, I mean, you just can't imagine the looks on everybody's faces. Even the guys that aren't allowed to handle a dog. So we have very strict criteria in order for them to handle a dog. But just seeing a dog, you can take a prisoner that's a big, bad, tough guy walking around and goes, "Oh, let me pet your dog." You know, I mean, it's amazing to see. And the attitudes around the prison are just transformed. It's huge.
And I guess finally, this isn't at a cost to the county, or
So
Or
the
is it?
cost to the county, and this technically would just be as far as like donations, dog food
okay.
is one of the biggest things. A lot of the stuff like donations of treats, I know the county a lot of times gets donations, and we're able to accept donations on behalf of the program. So treats, toys. Sometimes we do have we have a prisoner benefit fund who also can cover some of the items. We also can run fundraisers and whatnot for the program. But as far as cost wise, one of the biggest things would be in the form of dog food.
And then transportation back.
And the transportation back and forth, which we really have never had a problem with as far as like if we needed to meet somewhere or if we needed to do some of the travel as well, or whatever needed to be done. But yeah, that could be a cost as well.
But it would primarily be run through you two, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then where you said you could use 10 at a time, are you only getting them from our Montcalm shelter?
Yes, they would only come from Montcalm County. Yep.
Have you ever had any negative or detrimental experiences?
Nothing detrimental. We had a case. We did have one instance where it was a very small puppy. One of the prisoners' handlers had fallen on the dog and it had passed. But other than that, we really haven't had any. I mean, it's a dog, right? I mean, you can never always know what's going to happen.
Right.
But we've never really had any negative or detrimental things happen.
So is there a certain number of inmates who have been trained to provide this?
Yeah.
And then is there, who oversees them, I guess? Who trains them, I guess?
So a lot of our prisoners come from other facilities that have been through training programs, such as Leader Dogs for the Blind. So they take a lot of the material that they had from them. We hold a training class twice a week where either we help facilitate train or we bring in other trainers who volunteer their time to come in and offer information. The book that is going around to you as well. Inside of that book is a whole training guide. It takes the prisoners from day one that they enter the program until they complete a dog, as far as all the verbiage, the training commands, and all those things that teaches them how to do those, plus coming together and learning those things. And then our outside people that help out as well.
And how long do you normally anticipate that a dog would be with your facility?
8 weeks.
8 weeks?
Yep, 8 weeks is what we generally see as the best fit for the dogs. They come in, when they first come in, they'll come in for, depending on the dog, for a 1 to 2 week decompression period where nobody is allowed to handle that dog except for the handler. So a handler team is 2 prisoners. So it's 2 prisoners per dog. So the dog is never left alone. It's always with one of the 2 handlers. And they're with that dog for the 8 weeks for 24 hours a day. It stays right with them in their cubicle area. So that dog is under 24-hour care. And I go back to what you had asked about the training portion of it. So they also come in, we have a big application process that they go through. They actually sit in on an interview where we interview them. Trying to think of all the other things that we do with these guys before we screen them. There's a lot of criteria that they have to meet to even be allowed to be considered for the program prior to that. And then they would come and they sit on deck. So they have to learn before they actually get a dog. They have to learn from other handlers and through us observing them with dogs, whether or not they should move forward.
Do we sign something that absolves us of liability in the event that that dog were to bite a prisoner?
So there is in your packet here that is going around, as well as in the application process, there is a waiver that all prisoner handlers sign that they realize that, okay, if I'm working with the dog, there is a possibility of getting bit. And so they sign a waiver against that.
And this is a program that you guys have throughout the entire state?
Yeah,
We're
so
just dealing with just your the Central Michigan facility?
yeah, so each facility has their own program, and so each prison is in charge of their own program. So it's not like one program that fits the entire state,
Okay.
but we all have to kind of search out and seek our own programs when it comes to that and bring them into the facility. So everybody has, I can't say every facility, but many facilities have these programs, and it just really varies from prison to prison.
Gotcha. So not everybody in your position necessarily wants to run that program in their particular.
I think everybody
facility.
wants to run the program because everybody loves the dogs. You know what I mean? But I actually have a partner that I work with as well that helps me run the program. And then we're under direct supervision from like our ADW to the warden. So everybody is very, very much on board for the program.
So we would be adopting out dogs that have some basic behavior skills, I guess, that more so than what we had been in the past.
Yes.
Does Carson City have this program?
They have, Carson City has Paws with a Cause. That's their big program. So that one, it doesn't deal with shelter dogs. These dogs are bred specifically for special needs. So they go anywhere between working with people that are autistic or deaf. And if they don't pass certain criteria there, then they move on to what you would call as a facility dog. So they might come into a courthouse or something like that and sit with a child or go into a hospital.
Okay.
Yep.
And what type of training is it? Is it just like a general?
It's a general
General
training.
training.
So the funny thing about the state of Michigan too is that for dog training, you don't have to be certified technically. So it's the training varies from place to place, right? Everybody has their own variation of how a training works. What we work with is called Purely Positive. So any kind of training that we do, everything that we do is very positive based. There's no yanking on leashes or yelling at the dogs or anything like that. And if we had seen anything like that, we terminate the prisoner. They're done with the program.
And if you have a dog that you adopted from our shelter and it misbehaves, can I threaten it to take it to jail?
Well, I mean, it's already in jail.
Well, I know I'm saying like my dog that I adopted from the shelter, I would like to be able to use that as a threat that it could go to jail.
We're going to send you that. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And I do have just real quick too. So that any dog that does get adopted, we send out an adoption package. So the dog gets a bandana, they get a certificate of adoption, they get a bio that talks about why the dog was there, and we do something kind of cute where say this dog was a runner, so we said he absconded. Kind of went through that. They also get a training packet. So any dog that's adopted out goes home with the commands that they were trained on. And that way the training can continue, because training is only as good as what the dog goes home with, right? Just like us, if we don't use it, we forget it. So same thing with dogs. So we make sure that this goes home. We also send them with a 3-3-3 rule that just reminds people who adopt out dogs that it takes quite a bit of time for a dog to decompress and fit in with their family so that they kind of know what to expect. And then we also send a packet. This is an example of a training packet. So weekly, our prisoner handlers fill these out. This documents all of the training that they do with the dog every week. And then they follow it up with a summary of everything that the dog worked on, what it might still need. And then they send a little letter about what they hope for the dog when the dog's adopted out.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman Peterson.
I move to approve Montcalm County Animal Shelter to partner with Central Michigan Correctional Facility for their program Positive Futures.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you
Sounds
very
like a
much.
great program.
Thank you very much.
And I will be threatening my dog with you. Everybody thinks that's a joke, but it's true.
Yeah, do you guys take volunteers?
Yeah.
We have lots of people that say, can you please take my dog to this
Right,
program?
right.
Here's the other one.
Next is correspondence, Vice Chairman Peterson, please.
Okay, looks like it's a light day for me. Board correspondence for Monday, May 12th starts on page 22 of your packet. Start right out with everybody's favorite warrant reports. Warrant report number 05012025 in the amount of $155,210.50. Next warrant report 05082025 in the amount of $162,594.97. And finally, warrant report 05122025 in the amount of $313,921.73 for a grand total of $631,727.20. I would move the approval and appropriate signatures of all three.
Support. Been moved and supported to approve all three warrant reports totaling $631,727.20. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
On the consent agenda, items 4 through 7, looks like a couple police protection amendments. Does anybody have any questions about those? If not, I would move to place items 4 through 7 on the consent agenda on file.
Support. It's been moved and supported to place items 4 through 7 of the consent agenda on file. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the rest is for your information and resolutions from other counties. I see that Mecosta is supporting Amtrak services from Flint to Mackinac and Grand Rapids to Mackinac. So speaking of worthless resolutions, if nobody's got anything else, that will be your board correspondence for Monday, May 12th.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Peterson.
Thank you.
Up next is committee reports. We don't have anything. New business. Item 1 is the 2025 tax rate request, also known as the L4029. Are you coming up for that?
Looks like Headley's hitting us again.
107 starts on.
The controller tells me that Headley is gonna whack us again.
Oh, yeah.
Bad.
It will every year.
What, not as bad as some of the other units, you know, I mean, Bushnell Township and Evergreen Township and Carson City and Central Montcalm got hit pretty bad.
Yeah,
So I consider ourselves pretty lucky.
good.
Yeah, because we're at 0.9805 is what we got rolled back this year. That's the reduction fraction. Which it is more than what it was last year. Last year it was 99.74. But like I said, I consider us lucky that we didn't get hit worse.
Okay,
So our full millage, you guys have got, there was a sheet in your packet. Full millage, 4.2116. And I think you all got the sheet that says how much it collects and the breakdown.
A few more pages. There you go. You guys are just talking.
Deb, I talked to the controller about this, just so I'm clear on this. The bottom 5 columns there is full millage minus 1 mil. It's not as of the way we rolled back a mill last year. This isn't an addition to, this is just what it would look like if we rolled back a full mill again from our operating mill, correct?
Right.
Okay. So in that, if we rolled back a full mill, we would still see a $528,000 increase compared to what we brought in last year.
Correct.
Am I reading that right?
Yes.
And then, or 3/4 we'd roll in, or we'd still bring in 100 or 1,000,002, 1,000,009,
Yep.
226. Okay.
Yep.
So just to follow along with that, to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying, if we levy a full mill less again this year, like we did last year, it will generate $500,000
More than we did last year.
Did last year.
On top of the 900,000 that we're not paying in bond payments. And I know Brenda's very hyper aware that we do have a lot of capital improvement projects coming. We have wage increases and everything else.
What's
But-
your thought on it, Brenda?
Adam asked me that earlier. I guess my response to him was, I'm on the fence. I don't know.
When
I
we did that
think
a
we'd
year,
still be in good shape, but
when we did it a year ago, I think the consensus was that we felt like it was doable at the time. Didn't know how long or sustainable, but we could do the one-time thing. I think we're sort of at that crossroad again, wondering if
Well, our audit showed, if you remember, Joe said we had a surplus of still around $600,000,
which is mostly due to interest revenue.
Right.
We're just
which is and talking with Brenda before the meeting, that's always going to be a factor of if interest rates inevitably go down, if the federal funding. I mean, there's a whole ton of
What ifs.
factors in there.
if
Yeah,
the
there's a lot of
state
what
cuts
ifs.
revenue sharing by
because of the gas tax. Yeah, I know it.
But at the same time, we still have quite a healthy fund balance to where if we did roll back a full mill and we still ended up with 500,000 more than we brought in last year with our fund balance, with, where we're sitting, I don't think we would be in a terrible spot. I'm trying to save. It's very, very selfish, but also for the taxpayer, I'm trying to save money. I mean, we're going to be, if we don't roll back at all, people are going to feel it even harder. I think if we're going to get back to that full operating, then we need to at least do it in little chunks, not just let's go right back to the full one right now. But
Yeah, so this would be realized in this budget we're in right now, because this will be the summer taxes. We've already paid that bond payment,
right.
so that would be in next year's budget. We'd realize that
Right.
savings, basically, so.
the 1 million that we're talking about, the 1 mil that we're talking about rolling it back equates to how many dollars?
It looks like
1 mil is 2,570,000, 153.78.
So if we
Bottom of
needed
that
to pivot
sheet.
quick
Like,
again,
where
if we
did you get
went with it
that?
for a year and then we found ourselves in need of restoring it, $2
It'd be in-
million would,
well, who knows what it's going to be next year, but I think $2 million would be a safe bet.
Well, we're probably gonna see a rollback next year as well.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how far Day Township's gonna get with their solar stuff
Right.
here, but that's gonna hit us.
Right. Yeah, and I think I don't see land values going down anytime soon.
No, I don't see the values going down, but I don't necessarily seeing them going up as
No.
much as what they did this year.
No. Well, who knows?
I
And
don't, I
that's
don't
the thing.
foresee the taxable going
Right.
up. I don't see it going over and above what it was. I see it being less.
Right. And I mean, I'm still stuck on the fact that even if we roll it back a full mill, we're still bringing in $500,000 more than we did last year,
Just in tax revenue.
just in tax revenue.
This
That's
year.
no interest. That's no anything. That's just tax revenue.
Did you figure out what it saved you last year?
No, it still cost me more money, but I was thankful that it wasn't a lot more. I just add them all up and write a check quick and send it out. I don't even want to look at it.
Lessen the pain, huh?
Yeah.
I was just curious.
No, I didn't. I should have though. I guess I could look. I guess I'll get the conversation going. Is anybody opposed to rolling it back a full mill again?
I'm not. No, I'm in favor of it.
I'd want Brenda to be completely on board. I think she's the one that we rely on to make those things balance. If she had any apprehension about it, I guess I'd have to consider what she said. But I think on the face of it, it seems sound that we made it work last year. This rollback allows us for $500,000 more revenue than what it did last year. It seems like we'd be in some.
Well, that's with the 600,000 that we added to our surplus. So I mean, technically, we'd be looking at another million if everything went the same as it did.
I would be comfortable doing it another year. 'Cause really, those things we did, those measures we took in November to spend down, we only really spent the road commission money.
Right.
The other monies are just kind of set aside over here. So I would be comfortable doing it for one more year.
Yeah, and to your point, the CAC money, the 2 million is still there. It's just we're spending the interest down off of it.
Right.
Montcalm Care Network money is still there until that building is purchased, which who knows when that's going to happen. I mean, we're not cutting our nose off to spite our face, and we're saving the taxpayer money. I mean, we don't need to be the greedy little piglet suckling at the taxpayer teat until we, bleed them dry. I don't believe.
I understand that perspective and I agree with it mostly, but this is also very good times for governments as far as revenue because of the way the homes keep gaining in value. So it allows us to be in this position, but that's going to change and it could change quickly. And I just want to make sure that we are in a position that if it does change and we're not taking in those dollars, that we're not going to be put in a position where we've got to start doing some stuff that we don't want to do. And so I'm really leaning on Brenda, to be honest with you, with this. And if I do sense a little bit of apprehension with Brenda, and that concerns me a little bit. When I hear her say, I think we can do it for one more year, that makes me feel like there's a little concern there. But I agree with you. I don't want to be taking in more money than what we need. But I also want to make sure that we're also planning for the future when we're not taking in this much money just based on home sales.
Deb, at 1 mil less, would that be the 3.2116?
Yes.
Okay. So if someone were to make a motion, would they say they would like to approve the L4029 at the 3.2116?
Correct.
I would make that motion.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
I just have one question for Brenda. Would you feel more comfortable with a half, or are you confident that this one will not have any sort of negative effect going forward for us?
I can't tell you 100% that it's
Right.
not going to
I
have a
understand.
negative effect because it's all projectionary, but I'm comfortable with it knowing that next year we won't have that $1 million expense for the bond payment.
Yeah.
So now beyond that year, I think it's a reevaluation every year of
Okay.
what our status is and where we're at. So
Fair enough.
Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys. Okay.
New business item 2, clerk correspondence. Number 3, controller correspondence.
I just got a couple things. On your desk, you saw a picture of Camp Ford Lincoln. Doug just wanted to share that pavement job with you. He's very pleased with it. Thinks they did a wonderful job and that will be beneficiary to everyone involved. And then back to the Amtrak resolutions. So I think they sent them to Pat. I don't know if they sent them to all of you guys, but then they sent them to me. Are you guys interested in doing that or
The
not?
ones that I get are like from a private individual
Yeah.
pushing it, right?
Uh-huh. It is.
And I guess I've got a lot of questions about that. I mean, it sounds great. All those things sound, where does he plan to put it? Because
Exactly.
the White Pine Trail is not a railroad corridor anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't think it's quite as simple as saying, boy, we'd like to have train service from Grand Rapids to Traverse City or whatever it is. So
Yeah, and I got a call from Paul Griffiths, who pioneered that or spearheaded that whole pavement of the trail
okay.
project. And he just wanted to know if we'd heard from this gentleman. And I said, yes, we have. And he just wanted to let me know that Mecosta County passed and basically just to make him go away.
Mm.
They have no indicator that it's going to happen, but they just wanted to
Right.
go away.
So that shows how much faith they have in that resolution.
It's just pretty easy to hatch an idea and get
Right.
kind of people revved up for it,
Yeah.
whether it's realistic or not is.
So before I wasted my time on it, I just wanted to know, are you for or against?
The theory, the premise of it, if you could snap your fingers and have rail service from Grand Rapids,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
But
Well, where's the rail beds now?
how
Yeah.
many people are gonna be just, all the other
Yep.
things that are realistic about it are.
Right.
Right.
Let's make a bullet train to the moon while we're at it.
Yeah.
Evolution of that. I mean, yeah.
Sign up.
Elon's working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. That's all I've got.
All right. Number 4 is the chair board correspondence. I don't have anything. Does anyone else on the board? If not, that ends new business. Old business, item 1, we have a closed session on our agenda to review an attorney-client privilege communication.
I moved to go into closed session.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to go into closed session pursuant to section 8(1)H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material which is exempt from disclosure under section 13(1)G of Michigan's Freedom of Information Act. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor
call.
say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Johnston. Mahar.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Painter.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Carr.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're in closed
Closed
session.
session.